Well, good evening and welcome to meeting number 3970, again from the comfort of your living, dining, office, wherever you might be. And it's lovely this evening to start with greetings from other clubs. So I think we've got people here from Bath and Thwaite. Give us a wave and say hello.
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 Blackpool.
Evening all.
Blackpool Palatine.
And Blackpool Palatine.
And where's that?
I always hear about Blackpool Palatine when I do sleepovers at Blackpool Tower Circus, because the collection's always Blackpool Palatine Rotary.
Yeah.
Church
Just
and Old Twistle?
Just not at the moment.
Just not at the moment, no. Evening, Ian. Fleetwood.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hope you're all well.
Kendall.
Hello, all here.
Hello.
Best wishes.
Salford with Swinton.
Evening, Herbert Chatters. Greetings, everyone.
Hello. And Upper Eden.
Evening, fellow Rotarians.
Hello.
Hello. Lovely to have you all with us.
Hello.
Have I missed any clubs? There are a couple of others that have registered but haven't perhaps made it in yet. Any other greetings from any other clubs, from anyone else?
Sam Jones, Preston and Mounderness.
Oh, sorry. A late edition. Welcome.
Thank you.
Anybody else been anywhere virtually? No. Moving on then, 2 birthdays to celebrate in the last week. Colin, who had a wild day on Saturday, and Howard, I presume, had an equally wild day on Tuesday. Happy birthday to both of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Howard Spencer.
Howard Spenceley said, yeah, sorry.
At my age, you don't have wild days.
I don't
Wishful
believe.
thinking.
You're just grateful for days, aren't you, Howard?
Absolutely right. They're grateful for days.
Lovely. Colin, anything to report as almoner?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I've spoken to Alan Salbutts today. Alan's he's in fine, still in good frame of mind, but he said there's no progress with with him. And I also spoke to John Spedding last week. I tried John last week but couldn't get him, and he rang me back this week. And John, again, in a very positive frame of mind. You know, still more or less in lockdown until this week with Janet. But he would like to join the Zoom meeting. So we're going to arrange for John to have a little bit of a tutorial on Zoom. And hopefully John will join some of the meetings in the near future with us.
Good.
Wonderful.
Jenny, we've got 2 other visitors as well to welcome.
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, oh, I've lost them. It's what, well, one is a very lovely familiar face to have back with us. It's lovely to have you with us, Anne. So welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you.
Thank you.
And I've lost Tom. Tom, lovely to have you back with us again as well. Great to see you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Tom.
Just a couple of comments from me. Ribblesdale have acquired or borrowed or agreed to borrow, not quite sure what phrase to use, one of the round table sleighs, and I've made it roadworthy. And they're having a meeting about sleighs and collections and what they might be able to do with it on Monday, to which anybody who is interested is invited. So I'll put the details of that. I'll send those to Bill to put in KBO. So we might, if we are able to do a collection anywhere, we might be able to have a sleigh for a bit of sound and vision, and Father Christmas to sit in it. Tony, anything from you?
No, just enjoying my papadons, but no.
Oh, okay. We'll leave you to it. Oh, committee chairs. Anything? I've forgotten to get the wheel ready. Hold on a minute. Anything else from any committee chairs?
I suppose trees comes under mine, doesn't it? So we are planting trees Saturday and Sunday this week from 1:30. There is a list of names of who's put the names down to go. So I don't think there's much else to say. Only read your notes from Andy and get your wellies on and your spades and your diggers and your gloves and your waterproofs. And bring your husband in my case because he digs a better hole than me.
Most husbands do.
Yeah, he's planning on planting me.
Sometimes not intentionally.
Somebody was with me on that one. Well, I think he's planning on planting me in the hole. But I think that's all there is to say because the notes have all gone out, haven't they?
Yeah, lovely.
Is Neil at the meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something about the raffle and remind people to buy the tickets, etc.?
Well, it was. I'd asked President Jenny if she'd push tonight.
Yes, well, I just suddenly realised
that presidential approval. I'm pushing for the event.
Just bear with me a minute because I've forgotten to get the wheel ready. So I'm just finding it and then I will be... Just...
Whilst you're getting it ready, tell those lucky people who were successful in the last 7 draws that the... 6 draws because one week we didn't have one. That I will be delivering tomorrow. Now I'm going to put a red coat and white beard on.
Jeff, there is a few that have offered to donate their bottles to the Christmas raffle.
Well, yes,
do you know who they are?
I have got Sandy and I've got Miles as
perfect. That's the 2.
Jeff, I won't be in tomorrow.
I'll leave it on the doorstep next to your milk.
Well, thank you very much.
Miles doesn't need it. It needs bringing here, Jeff.
Well,
no, I got 2.
He doesn't want the red one.
Well, you got 2.
Yeah, well, it'll help improve Miles' reputation with his neighbours if you don't actually put it with him.
So yes, presidential.
So whilst Jenny's setting up, so far I've had quite a few members donating items for the Christmas raffle prize. A lot of it's alcohol related or biscuits, so it'll be a very healthy hamper to whoever wins it. I'm still looking for more savoury items. If people want to have a look on the hamper list that I sent out. And in the meantime, for those that would like to buy raffle tickets, there are £5 each. Would members please make a donation to Mike on the account and let Jeff know the details of how many tickets they've bought. That way we'll collect the money and Jeff will add your names to the wheel. And I think we're running the raffle on, I think it's Thursday the 17th.
Yes, at the Christmas party.
So are we paying Mike online?
Yes, paying Mike online.
So yes, if you can pay it into the trust fund.
How many tickets you bought.
Yeah.
And what we also said was that in recent years, people have been very happy to donate money to the club in recognition of the fact that they were saving money on not sending Christmas cards to other members. This year, if they want to donate money to the club, they can certainly give it in the form of a raffle entry instead. So they can have 5 raffle entries for the £25 donation or whatever. And they've therefore got good chances of winning in the raffle as a thank you for their donation to the club.
I'll get on with it.
Oh yes, I'll add presidential approval then. Now I've found the wheel.
I would really like that nobody pays me in cash or checks because I really don't want to go to the bank unless I have to.
Yeah. Can you put the account details on the website or on the
KBO?
Yeah.
It must have been on that.
Save it.
So the final reminder that Jenny's going to push.
So yes, please do
yes,
buy your raffle
tickets. We're trying to raise
ticket.
money for the Salvation Army. So the money raised from the raffle is going to the Salvation Army to help people in less need over the Christmas period.
Which account is it going into?
The trust account.
The trust account.
Bloody hell. It's already been put in the bulletin.
I'm gutted that Miles throws away, deletes his copy of KBO every week. That's terrible.
I didn't say I threw it away every week.
It's like trying to get.
In fact, I save it every week.
Oh, that's okay.
I throw your email away, but I save the
grandchildren
KBO.
when they were younger.
So at the moment, without doing a precise calculation, the hamper is worth at least £100 in terms of what people have donated, and the walking stick, which is available, is priceless.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'd like to pretend, Simon, that it's normally a lot more organised than this, but no one will believe me anyway.
It isn't. It would be a lie.
Every club's the same, Jenny, so don't worry.
Oh, that's all right then.
Can I just say, in Miles' defence and about the bulletin, that if he actually read the bulletin, he wouldn't appear at meetings on time, because I read the bulletin and the bulletin said it was 7:30 start. So, Miles, you do right. I'll throw mine away in future and then I'll be on time.
Bump into me next time on a walk, Howard. I'm definitely not speaking to you. I was just making an exception today, but that's the rule.
As long as it's only a metaphorical bump.
Oh, yes.
Good. Right. Nothing from the secretary then. Chairs. Oh, spin the wheel.
Well, you'd better get it up on screen for us, and then we can...
Doing.
All right.
Shout before you hurt some people.
Can everybody see it?
No, not yet.
No. Oh, yeah.
Still waiting. Oh, there we
go. Okay, for the red.
Go again.
Mr. Dugdale.
Put it in the raffle.
Oh, Mr. Dugdale says put it in the raffle, and for the white.
Again? Is running Miles and Sandy wins this wine?
No, not this week.
He has had a bottle delivered to him, but...
You should send it every week to them and just forget about it.
So we must be coming to the end of the first payment we've made for the wheel.
No, you're nowhere near it yet.
Are we nowhere near yet? All right, fine. Losing track.
Settle down, Jenny. Settle down.
Okay.
Jenny, you might want to explain to guests how this works, because it's all an in-joke and the draw again for us, but not for everybody else.
Very true. Normally this would be our draw in real life, and it would be a pack of cards. So the cards are drawn out, and if the card hasn't been picked out by someone that week, then we'd have to draw again, and Mike as treasurer would mutter those words, draw again. So when we do it in real in online in Zoom, Mike carries on saying his magic words, and we put them on the wheel to just add to the authenticity of the whole thing.
Okay.
Jenny, can I just ask one more thing?
Certainly.
We didn't update you on the supermarket collections this year. Unfortunately, Sainsbury's and Booths won't allow us to do any collection in store or in the car park. So the only option we have now is to try and apply for a street collection, either in the market or the streets of Clitheroe, to do a Christmas collection. So we're on with applying for that. So we'll have to let members know how we go on with that.
Yeah.
You've got an application.
I have submitted the application.
Right.
I know I've not given them 30 days.
They won't bother. There'll be no problem.
Yeah, righto.
You'll have two councillors pouncing on the head, won't they, Jenny?
They will. Well, without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Howard to introduce our speaker, Simon, this evening. So I will mute you all and unmute those that I need to. And then when it comes to questions, we can unmute later. So, Simon. So Howard, you should now be able to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you.
Lovely.
Right, thank you, President Jenny, and welcome to all the guests. It's a great night tonight because we have with us Simon Richardson, who is the Chief Operations Manager for IT Schools Africa. It's quite interesting that Simon came into that position 10 years ago, which coincidentally was when we first hooked up with IT Schools Africa. It was in John Spedding's year. Myself and Barry Lancaster went to Kirkham Rural Field, I think it was, heard somebody speaking about this, thought, what a great idea, and we've done it ever since. I visited Simon in Cheltenham, so I've got first-hand experience. Brilliant organisation, and Simon's going to tell us all about it. So Simon, thank you very much. Over to you.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Are we ready to go?
Yeah, please, if I could do the screen.
Yep. Yep. I don't be on the picture now.
Right, that should appear any moment now.
I can see it, Jenny. It just needs to be full slideshow.
All right, I've just got a black screen at the moment, so let's try again. There we go.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you so much for inviting me this evening. IT Schools Africa was set up at the end of 2004 with the aim of transforming IT education in Africa. Next screen, please. And next screen again, please. And in that time, we have now collected over 100,000 computers and laptops in the UK. We supplied over 1,800 schools in Africa with computers. We've trained over 750 teachers. We've completed 33 e-learning labs, and I'll explain more about that later on. And we believe we've given access to IT to at least 5 million children in this time. Next slide, please. The start of the process is we've got to get equipment in. If we don't get any equipment in, we can't send anything out. It's as simple as that. And ideally, we would like to collect every month 600 computers, 600 monitors, 600 keyboards, 600 mice, and laptops and all the peripherals. And these mainly come from schools and businesses. Next slide, please. businesses now represent the biggest source of our donations. It used to be schools, but with government cutbacks, etc., it's slightly diminished. Businesses see it's very good for their corporate and social responsibility, that it's going to a good cause, it's being reused, not going to landfill. And so they can get, you know, a good PR for that. Schools, as I said, used to be our biggest source of donors, but that has unfortunately sort of tailed off a little bit. Because also we are a little bit fussy in a sense with the sort of equipment we want. We don't want anything that is too old, too geriatric. We want to give the equipment as much life as possible out in Africa. And so we're a little bit picky with what we want. And what's happened is that schools, with the cutbacks that I mentioned, they've been holding on to their equipment for much longer. And often they will say, oh, actually, you won't want the equipment that we've got. It's all broken or it's pretty ancient. So that's, you know, it's sad, but that's a sign of the times. We will also get probably 5 or 6 people will come into our offices every day with laptops, computers, etc. And you can see some of our donors. I'm sure you'll recognize 1 or 2 of them. And we go much further afield than just Cheltenham and Gloucestershire. We will go to Liverpool, to Clitheroe, to Manchester, to Birmingham, the Midlands, to London, the South Coast, Bristol, Cardiff, Swansea. It's what I call a sort of a 3-hour sweep from here. So by the time you get there, load up, you might have 1 or 2 other collections to do en route. And no, we aim to get back by 5 o'clock, sort of M6, M5 willing. Doesn't always happen. Next slide, please. Data security is our #1 priority, and we use specialist data erasure software to wipe the equipment. We have 2 types of software. There's a software called KillDisk. KillDisk is US Department of Defense standard. And we also use WipeDrive. WipeDrive is basically GCHQ approved. Every computer and monitor and laptop that we receive, we give it its own unique barcode and ID number so that we know which school, business, organization donated it to us, and we can follow it on its journey. Next slide, please. We just don't have the space or the manpower to do all the refurbishment ourselves. So we work alongside one prison because it's got the space, it's got the manpower. For us, it's cost effective, but perhaps more importantly, the prisoners learning new skills, useful skills. They're not sitting there sewing mail bags. Next slide, please. So we would send to the prison a pallet of computers with the hard drive already wiped. And the first thing that they will do is they will open up the computer, and it's usually full of dust and perhaps 1 or 2 excitements that school children have smuggled into the back of the computer. And they will clean it out. Then they will do any fault finding troubleshooting. They will upgrade the computer to make sure it meets our minimum specification. They will clean out the outside to make sure it looks nice and presentable. And then they will also start the process of loading Windows 10. They can't fully load Windows 10 because you need access to the internet to upload Windows 10. And for obvious reason, prisoners aren't allowed access to the internet. Then the computers will come back down to us, and we will then give them a further quality control check to make sure the prisoners have done everything properly. And then we will complete the loading of Windows 10 and then we will palletize them up, ready to be sent to Africa. Next slide, please. Being a charity, we are very reliant on volunteers. Our volunteers come from, they might be long-term unemployed on a back-to-work placement scheme, or they might be out of work, not on any scheme, but wanting to do something whilst they're looking for a job, so it's good for their CV. We have school children. Often they're studying GCSE or A-level IT, so that really complements their classroom activities. We have students with special needs. We have international students, and we're now getting more corporate and company volunteers who come and volunteer their time with us. Next slide, please. Volunteers really are at the heart of IT Schools Africa. Without them, we would really struggle to do the work that we do. And it's really marvelous to see them. Often they will come here, they've been out of work for many years. They're very shy and nervous and unused to the workplace. And we can just slowly build up their confidence, and we can really see them growing in confidence and shining. And often they will go off and get a work thanks to having sort of volunteered with us. Next slide, please. Here are our four core countries that we send computers to. Kenya, we established a program there 2.5 years ago, and we sent 4 shipments there in that time. Zambia is our flagship country in the sense that we have supplied the majority of state secondary schools with computers. Zimbabwe, we were dealing with, then we had to stop for a while because of the political situation. But then things got better, and we were awarded the IT Educator of the Year by the Ministry of Education. But then suddenly there was a change of minister, and the program was stopped. So we had to suspend it for a few years. But we have resurrected it, and we have sent 3 shipments in the last 2 years. But economically, politically, it's very, very challenging out there. Malawi, on the other hand, up until 2013, the program out there was just about ticking over, not much really happening. Then there was 2 changes. We had a new program manager, and also IT was put on the school curriculum. And the program has taken off, and it has gone from strength to strength. Next slide, please. So we have in each country an NGO, non-governmental organization. It's rather like a sister charity to ourselves. It's made up of a technical center, which is run by a program manager, who is supported by a couple of technicians. So, for example, in Zambia, it's called Computers for Zambian Schools. And so the first thing that will happen is the team out there, they will receive the container of computers that we sent to them, and they will offload the container, and they will retest everything, because the chances are 1 or 2 of the computers that we sent will have failed in transit, because there's been so much loading onto lorries, offloading, bumpy roads, high seas, etc. Also, having a technical center in each country means that the schools in those countries, if they have any problems, issues, or if they need advice, spares, etc., they know who to turn to. It would be just too difficult for us to try and sort out problems on a day-to-day basis from here, from the UK. Also, the team will help train a teacher, because again, it's no good sending a school a dozen computers if nobody knows where the on-off button is. And also, the team will set up the e-learning labs, and I'll explain more about that in a moment. Next slide, please. When the charity was first set up, we used to give the schools the computers free of charge. But then we discovered that some of the schools weren't actually using them. And we were rather disappointed. And we said to them, you know, why aren't you using them? And they said, well, you've given them to us. We can do what we want with them, which is true, but rather against the spirit. So we now charge them a little bit because we want them to think about it. Do we want these computers? What are we going to do with them? How can we get the most out of them? And this has had the knock-on effect that some of the schools have become much more proactive, entrepreneurial, in the sense that they say, right, we have these computers, these assets that we use from sort of 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock school time. What more can we do with them? So they might set up a breakfast club or an afternoon club or something at the weekend. And if they want to, they can then charge a little bit, get a little bit of money back into the school. With that money, they can then buy tables and chairs, books, or whatever. And also it means potentially more people getting access to IT.
Oops, sorry.
No, next slide, please. We've also been very fortunate that we have received some money for some trust funds, grant organisations, where we've been able to totally transform 33 school classrooms, the majority in Malawi. So we will install 40 to 50 computers. They will all be networked. There'll be an overhead projector, printer, proper security. And this will really transform the opportunities for the school children and for the school itself. And we want to do more of that. Next slide, please. We aim to give the computers and monitors that we send out at least another 5 to 6 years of life, probably much longer. But some stage they inevitably will come to the end of life. And we try to encourage the schools to send their old equipment back to the technical centre in each country, who in turn, when they have a container load, will then send them off to a recycling plant in South Africa. Next slide, please. We've also set up in the sort of the last 3 to 4 years a digital inclusion program here in the UK, mainly here in Gloucestershire, where we donate refurbished computers to charities and local organisations. And we have now helped 14,000 learners by giving them digital skills support. Next slide, please. There are 3 examples at the bottom. There's the Cornerstone Community Centre, based in Cheltenham. It's assumed wrongly that most children have access to a laptop or a computer at home, but many don't. And in particular, in the COVID pandemic, has really highlighted this problem and this need. Priors Park Neighbourhood Project in Tewkesbury helps unemployed people looking for jobs, etc. And if you haven't got access to the internet for that, it's very, very difficult. Or if you're on universal credit, it's all done online. Or you might be at a GL Community Hub down near Stroud. Perhaps you're of a certain age where technology has bypassed you and you want to catch up. So these are just sort of 3 examples where we've been helping locally. Next slide, please. Being a charity, we have what I call challenges and needs. We are always in need of equipment. I said at the beginning, we'd like to collect 600 computers every month. Well, we might get the computers, but not the monitors. Or we might get the computers and the monitors, but not the keyboards and mice. or you get the computers, but they've got no hard drives in them. So we're always short of something. We're always playing catch up. So, you know, this is where I'd really like to thank you so much for all your help in doing the collections on our behalf. It really makes such a difference. So a big thank you for that. You know, we are always in need of equipment. Volunteers, we're often in need of volunteers. It's been difficult at the moment with COVID, etc. We've really had to restrict the number of volunteers. Money, being a charity, we're always short of money. I said earlier that we charge the schools a small amount. The vast majority of that money will go towards the running costs of the technical centre in each country. If any of that is left over, it will come back here to make a nominal contribution towards our running costs. The vast majority of our income comes from trust funds and grant organisations. We spend a huge amount of time writing letters asking for donations, monetary donations. But we will also sell certain items of equipment that aren't appropriate to send out to Africa. But I always ask, because being a charity, we're always short of money. If anyone there has got a rich aunt or uncle, we would be delighted to know. Next slide, please. And you can always follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Next slide, please. And that, in a quick nutshell, is IT Schools Africa. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Simon. Let's show our appreciation in the usual way. Right.
Thank you.
We've got a bit of time for questions, so you'll have to wave at me, raise your hand formally, and I'll hopefully try and see. But Martin Hill is definitely waving at me, so if you unmute yourself, Martin, we'll start with you, and then Tony Perry.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Simon, of all the equipment you get in from the various places in this country, how much of it is actually useless and needed scrap? What is your wastage rate?
Can you just say the beginning? From all organisations, did you say?
No, from everything that you get in the UK.
Yeah, everything. Well, probably about 20% is scrap. We have to send to scrap. Sometimes it might be very old, it might be damaged, broken, or whatever. We do whatever we can to try and fix it, but that's the way it goes. It's not bad.
Tony Perry and then Mary Robinson.
Hi, well, I've got a lot of questions actually, but first of all, a statement. Carol's done this for many years. I did it for a year. This is an extremely worthwhile charity, particularly for those visitors to this meeting. I worked for IBM. I worked in IT all my life. I worked for IBM for the last 22.5 years. Africa is the next potential really IT hotspot earner after India. The wage base in India is going up. Africa is still relatively low. There's an immense opportunity to help people in Africa if they have those IT skills. Many African countries, because of the history, have English as a second language, if not a first. They are there positioned to take over from India and to earn a lot of money and a lot of wealth. So I think this is absolutely critical. Questions are about, really, I'm intrigued about, you put Windows 10 on this. How do you license it?
We get what I call a charitable rate from Bill Gates. You still have to pay a nominal fee, but it's not the commercial fee.
Yeah, because we've had this, we've had, particularly during COVID, we've had school people, charities approach us locally, say, we've got kids who can't access online education. Have you got any spare computers? And we said, well, we've got some. sorry about this. We could have sent to IT schools after.
Yeah, sure.
We can't install software on them.
Gone off.
I think we've lost.
I've finished.
Tony, are you still there?
Keep losing you, Tony.
All right, I've finished.
Oh, sorry. Mary Robinson.
Mute yourself.
Oh, she's done a camera right.
It's very rare for her to be quiet.
Okay, we got there.
Yeah.
Right. You mentioned the age. What sort of age do you call too old? The reason I'm asking, the school my daughter's working at the moment have a lot of monitors they want to get rid of. We will pick them up and bring them over, but if there's an age limit, there's no point, is there?
No, that is an excellent question. Monitors are slightly different to computers. With monitors, the sort of criteria are the flat screen monitors with stands, so they can stand on the desk, and either sort of the age. The best way to sort of do an age is if they're either black or silver. The surround is black or silver, not what I call the old white sort of magnolia.
Big fat boxes.
Yeah, exactly. So screens, it's less of a problem with age. With computers, basically, it's needs to be Windows 7 and above, not Windows XP. That's a sort of criteria.
So I can tell her to have a good look round at these monitors.
Yeah.
Bring them over. Drop them off at Howard's house before Christmas.
Because I'm sure Howard would love them.
If you're in doubt, if you just take a photograph and email it to me, and I can say yes or no, and that's.
Okay, see what we can do at this
that's very kind. Thank you very much.
It's a bit of a different school, you see.
Lovely. Thanks,
Thank you, Jenny.
Any more questions?
Yes, please.
Anne Roberts is waving at me, and then who else said yes, please then?
Sam Jones.
Sam. So it's Anne and then Sam.
You have to unmute yourself, Anne.
Right, is that better?
That's better.
That's it.
Okay, I just wondered if you had any wonderful feedback about people that had used your service and gone on to other things.
Yeah, we are getting more feedback from the schools, and also what is now interesting is that a lot more students now are going on to university, and one of the criteria out there is to get into universities in these countries is that, you need a laptop, and so they've now had the skills of using computers, so going onto a laptop is not, it's just a natural progression. And our program managers will often come back and say, the IT equipment has made such a difference to these students. It's incalculable.
Thank you very much.
And then Sam.
Thank you. Simon, what are your relations like with the local political establishments in the countries you're working on? Zimbabwe is an obvious problem, but what are you welcomed by the other countries, or do they say, please do more?
Yeah, we have a link because, as I explained earlier, we have our NGOs and they're independent from us, but we are in contact with them on a sort of day-to-day basis. And they have sort of agreements with the sort of Ministry of Education in some of the countries, and because, for example, you've got to get the computers in through customs, etc. It's not all sort of plain sailing. It's quite a logistic to get computers in. That has to be held, and the Ministry of Education will help that, or they will also liaise them. Our NGOs will liaise with the ministries, not just for education, where best to send computers to, etc.
Yeah. Can I have another, please? Yeah. Coming back to what you said about the Tech Connect in the UK, Simon.
Yeah.
This sounds to me a sort of a wonderful initiative in terms of but so how common are these things? Sort of, would we find any in the north, in Preston, or any in the northwest, for example?
It's a good question. I just don't know. But, in a sense, the reason why we sort of set up Tech Connect was many people thought we were sort of too focused on Africa with that name, IT Schools Africa, even though we did a lot of things here, helping unemployed, etc. And so we set up this Tech Connect about 4 years ago, really trying to broaden our appeal to donors and grant organizations. I think there might be lots of mini places that might do similar things, but on a much, much smaller scale. And unfortunately, I don't know of anywhere in the Northwest. There are a couple of charities that are similar to us. One's called Computer Aid and another's called Kamara. But they are very much based, sending computers overseas. I should have also sort of made a point that it's actually quite a competitive business. There are about sort of 700 other IT recyclers out in the country, commercial IT recyclers. And they can go to schools or businesses and say, oh, we can take all your equipment away from you, and we might even be able to give you a little bit of money for them. Whereas we can't, we just haven't got the funds to do that. We have to appeal to what I call hearts and minds.
Thank you. Warwick, were you? Yes, so Warwick, Ian, and then M, and Brian Walker, if we've got time. Warwick, you just need to unmute yourself, sorry. Or press and hold your space bar.
Can I jump the gun? Can I jump the gun? Because I have
yeah, go on then, Brian, while Warwick's, yeah.
Yeah, just a quickie. I'm just wondering how much experience you have of using Rotary Foundation grants for the work in Africa. A few years ago, I tried to add it to a grant application, and the problem was maintenance in the rural areas. How do you get around that, and have you any experience on it?
We haven't received, per se, in my knowledge, any grants from Rotary organisations here in the UK.
Right. I think that answers the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Warwick, lovely.
Yes, I've lived for many years in South Africa. I wondered why you're not going south of Zimbabwe. Any particular reason for that?
Well, actually, in a sense, it's partly historical, partly supply. Historically, when IT Schools Africa was set up, we were quite good at getting computers in from the UK, but we weren't very good at distributing them. But there was another organisation called Computers for African Schools. They weren't very good at getting donations of computers, but they had good on the ground links in Zambia and Zimbabwe and Malawi. And anyway, so we sort of basically merged. It's also, we have looked at it, so trying to set up another program in another country, but it's very expensive because you need people, in a sense, who you can trust, and you need a good sort of a board for the charity or the NGO in each country, and even connect with connections ideally with the Ministry of Education and probably one or two other ministries. And also, in a sense, supply is another challenge. We are always in need of more equipment. If we were to start opening a new program, it would mean that we would have less to distribute to our existing programs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ian and then and we'll see how we're doing for time.
Jenny, Ruth has had her finger up.
All right, well, I saw Ian and M first, so we'll see how we're doing for time.
Thank you, Madam President. I think, Simon, that was a great presentation. I just wondered, I mean, taking all the credit for Clitheroe to be driving this from our district, I wondered whether or not there was any possibility of a short video to promote the project, because it works wonders, of course. I know these things cost money, but Clitheroe would obviously want that on their webpage, but on a district front, on our district webpage, it would certainly get some coverage. The things that have impressed me, the fact that you're using OneDrive, which is GCHQ approved, is fantastic. But I certainly didn't know that you involved prison workers and all that sort of stuff you're doing in the UK. Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, we can send you a video, no problem.
And then Ruth.
Thanks.
Thank you, President. Simon, we put in, built a school in Sri Lanka, and another charity put in some computers, brand new ones, but they were never used because there was a problem with the electricity supply, and there was a problem for a teacher to teach the children how to use them. So these things just lay dormant for at least 2 years. Do you have problems like that with electricity and teaching facilities?
Yes, that's a sort of, I would say, they're almost sort of day-to-day issues, especially in rural parts. You know, electricity supply is a challenge, and also training the teachers as well to be able to impart the knowledge. We are just at the moment, there's something called the Big Give, where we're fundraising at the moment, and it is to raise money for us to be able to train teachers so that they can then impart the knowledge on.
Thank you. And then Ruth.
Thank you. I've known about this work that you've been doing in Clitheroe for a number of years, and we're quite interested in joining into something like this in Kendal. What I wondered, Simon, was, number one, to Simon, whether in fact your 300 miles would go further north than Clitheroe. I think you said 300 miles you travel to pick up. And also whether Clitheroe have got a sort of an aid memoir that they could let me have if I email them about the logistics of setting something like this up within the club.
Yeah, with I'm sure, you know, what we do is basically we've got a large van, and we basically, to make it as cost effective as possible, that's why we would say we could certainly do Kendal.
Right. Okay.
I know, for example, with Clitheroe, when we go, the van is full, and that makes all the difference, basically.
Yeah.
Ruth, I've got your email address from registering, so I'll get in touch.
Thank you very much indeed.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
I'm hoping there's nobody else waving at me, so I'm going to hand over to Howard for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, President Jenny. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed that. I certainly have. We've worked with IT Africa, Schools Africa now for 10 years. Sadly, I haven't kept numbers that we've sent, but it's a lot. We do it year in, year out. Simon's team down there are absolutely amazing. Having been there and seen the volunteers, the young people that are involved, it is so much more than just IT Schools Africa. We've heard about the work with prisoners, the out of work, those seeking work, with students, special needs. I mean, this is all round brilliant. Digital learning for 14,000 in the UK. And Simon, I noticed that your fundraising event, your fun run, was right across the 8th hole of Clitheroe Golf Course, which I've played several times. Brilliant presentation, Simon. Thank you very much. We would all show our appreciation in the usual way, and you will get as a special reward on
yes,
the next,
hopefully my glamorous assistant Tony has got them ready to distribute, and so we will make sure that gets to you. So just to prove that the pen is not dead, even with a room full of computers.
Thank you very much indeed, Simon.
A pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. And please thank all your team for all their help over the years. It's been immeasurable and it's deeply appreciated.
This is one of the side effects of Zoom, is this, of course, that we can do this. Simon doesn't need to leave Cheltenham. We don't need to leave our homes, and we can hear somebody who really knows something, who really does something. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Howard. So thanks again, Simon. It's been lovely to have you with us. I think all that remains is to just say our meeting next week is a lunchtime meeting.
What time? What time?
12:30.
Are you listening, Bill?
12.
Yeah, I know it's 12:30, Howard.
He's writing it down as well. So 12:30 meeting next week. You can bring your lunch. You can eat your lunch before. You can eat your lunch afterwards. We don't mind. Bill is our guest speaker. So.
Oh my goodness. Is he sure? Is he sure?
You're going to get some stick.
I always do.
So thank you so much for everybody that's joined us from across the Northwest. We might be in tiers 2 and 3, but we're not letting that stop us. So it's been lovely to have so many people with us this evening. So all that remains is for the Rotary toast, Rotary Fellowship and peace the world over.
Cheers.